be disturbing, and especially when you're talking about young adults and they're trying to trying to figure themselves out. You have all this kind of existential dialogue with yourself at that age, and it becomes difficult, and as a lot of these problems arise. So I think that you're out there and doing this stuff is just
Yeah.
a really important service, extremely important service.
And Jenna, how about you? In terms of like what Anna was saying, in the spirit of the youth of Yorktown and how they pull together, that type of thing.
Well, I feel that I have personally grown a lot from participating in organizations like Alliance for Safe Kids, and it really makes me feel so wonderful that with all the knowledge I've attained over the years, I could bring that to all of my peers. And I feel like there's a lot of awareness in the community now, and like Anna said, everyone truly is supportive of one another, no matter where your interests may lie. So being united about not using drugs, not using alcohol, and going towards this idea of a better future for all is definitely one that brings a lot of joy to me. And it really is because of organizations like Alliance for Safe Kids that have allowed me to positively impact others.
Yeah, it's great to hear.
I mean, if by the way, I know if you have to go.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
you see, now I'm actually,
Right now, you
I
don't
just got
wanna
a
go.
storm to go to, so
Right.
I'd rather sit
You'd rather
here, but-
bask in the glow of
Yeah, no, it's I have to, but look, and I apologize again, I really do, but and what maybe I'll keep the other people waiting, but
No, and I want to also touch on that there's a lot of different things going on packed into the 4 hours of Save a Life on February 8th. It's 1 to 5 p.m. Right? And I mean, I'm going to repeat this more than once. So this is not that we're wrapping up the show, as it may sound like, but I want to let people know now, and then I'll do it again, that you can go to the website Save a Life 2015. So it's all one word, savealife2015.eventbrite, and that's event, eventbrite.com, to register for free. And it's limited, so if you want to be there, you have to register very quickly, because February 8th isn't too far away. And that includes a free Save a Life T-shirt. So one of the, I think, very important events at Save a Life is the showing of this feature film, Whispering Spirits.
yeah, that's
Which is about Justin Veach, and I've seen it, and it's extremely well done. It's very professionally done, and just to make it even more local, it was made by a young man from Yorktown, Sean Gallagher,
right.
who I've interviewed on a different show. I mean, he's very accomplished. I think he's going to be a very notable filmmaker, in fact. And a lot of it also is a huge testament to Jeffrey Veach and Marina Veach, the parents. And Jeff Veach really is on camera extensively talking about Justin and talking about Justin's incredible talent and being a father and having to deal with all.
Right.
I
And
mean, having to deal with it now that he's not here, which is the hardest thing in the world. And so, I mean, we really highly recommend people going to Save a Life in general, and certainly seeing that movie. I don't know if either of you, I know you're obviously younger than Justin was, right?
Yeah, he would have been
I was in the high
24.
school, though,
Oh, you were?
when
Okay,
that
so-
happened. Yes.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, and Justin died from a heroin overdose.
Right.
And the scourge of again drugs in our community is it robs us of our, what our future is and the great talent that's out there. And it's interesting. Probably my political handlers would caution me not to go there, but we just over the last year had a long permit process in front of us for a sober living residence that's opening up in Yorktown, and the thing is there is a stigma that's attached to kids that end up or people that do get into addictions, and this big strive for anonymity and and to be clandestine in their treatments because you don't want to we still as a culture heap on a lot of shame onto these people, or at least that they feel shame. And most of these people, one of the reasons why they're in there in these problems because they have their own self-shame. But as a society, we decide to we'll go one better for you. We'll make sure that you feel every bit of your shame. and sometimes by looking down at them, and you hear comments that well, there's something wrong with them, or their parents didn't bring them up right, or do this or whatever it is, and it's there's all different reasons for a person to be there. Sometimes the Glenn Byers story is a fascinating story. Basketball player who had cocaine once. He was drafted #1 by the Boston Celtics and celebrated that night and was dead the next morning.
On the court.
So these things. To think that, I mean, you guys probably know better than any, being in college and being in high school. I mean, it's very difficult not to rub up or bounce up against somebody that's, has got to be getting high or doing this, or illicit drugs have got to be all over the place. And, you can be, it doesn't take much for somebody to be snake bitten for the rest of their lives. And sometimes it's the underlying chemistry and other issues. And that's why, even this interactive workshop for the adults on the mental health part of it is very important, because we can't just, slough these people off as damaged goods that don't need to be cared for, because that's not in the spirit of of what any community should stand for. And
right. And we should mention too, now that you've touched on that part of the program, the interactive workshops for adults, that part of that, I know touches on something you always like to talk about, Supervisor, local talent and local artists, homegrown artists, so to speak. So there's a documentary in that segment called "Choices: What Will You Do?" That's made by David Levin, and David and Nancy Levin, who we know well. We've had David on the show with Trissy. He's a filmmaker and in the the media business and advertising it. So he made this documentary, and I saw part of it when you had that open house.
I think we also showed it last year, right?
Did you? Okay, so he's showing it again.
Yeah, it's very good.
Right. And so, that's something else. I just think it adds a lot when, like in both of these cases, these two films that are part of the program happen to be made by local people.
Right.
I mean, talk about a grassroots effort.
Right. And what's really great about this, because I think and again, we went through a long, arduous process with this permit, and I thought, it's like for most politicians, you want to stay away from anything controversial, but I think it's great to begin to have a conversation. That's absolutely necessary.
Well, you're not most politicians, thank goodness.
But you need to have the honest conversation. You can't pretend the problem's not there. You can't shun it. You can't the defense mechanism of not wanting to deal with it is just heap the people that are dealing with it with a lot of shame and saying, well, we'll segregate you. You've got
sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, right. And I think what's great about this is and it goes back to this whole where you guys are ambassadors out there to have that at your age. It's so damn important not for us to talk about it, my generation, but to have that conversation. And to be able to have that conversation without being intimidated, without being bullied, and without fear, and being able to be really proud about the fact that what the two of you do. Because I think that's a very important aspect of it, is to be really proud of the fact that you participate in these things and you're willing to have that conversation with your peers.
Well, and also, I mean, it goes without saying that your peers are much more apt to listen to you than, sometimes to adults. I mean, that's just human nature. And I mean, just in your daily comings and goings, at school and your social life and things, I imagine that there are discussions that take place, right, about the things that are reflected here in the program, right? And
absolutely, because these are they're issues that happen every day in every community, big or small. So I think, as a community in Yorktown, but all over, and even in my collegiate community, I think that people are getting a lot stronger about it and getting a lot better at willing to have that conversation. Then you have events like Save a Life, where we have all the youth of Yorktown willing to sit down and dedicate this time and say, let's talk and really let's address it, because we have seen the terrible outcomes of not addressing it. And by working closely with the Alliance for Safe Kids, volunteers like Jenna and myself, we are lucky in that we get to see the amazing benefits of programs like this. So we kind of take what we know about those benefits, and we're able to.
And that was going to be my next question. Do you have any input into the program? Or?
Well, I know that all of the different workshops and speakers really are going to move the audiences that do come. But for the National Honor Society at Yorktown, all of the members were actually were able to preview Whispering Spirits.
Right.
And it
Yeah.
really was a great privilege. Mr.
Yeah.
Veach actually came and spoke to us.
Right.
And it really is a reality what we're dealing with. But to see this film that, like you said, was very well done and very well put together, it left everyone very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And it sends such a powerful message that we really must be the change. So we have to stop and really work together to really make a change in this community. We are a very strong community, but we have to just work together and make it even stronger.
But you know what you said
Well
right
put,
there.
by the
You know,
way.
yeah, extremely well put. But that, you know, and that's the essence of it. And, you know, because I think if you, you know, your high school career is very short. You know, and you know, but you know, it's a golden opportunity, and really and you know, the agent of change is, you know, is this, you know, this whole, you know, is the conversation, and have the conversation, and to be, you know, because you know, it's fascinating, and the way you put it, and your spirit. That's and it's no small moment. I mean, it's no small thing. You know, I mean that absolutely sincerely. It's you can, you know, it's the old idea of, you know, faith the size of a mustard seed as to what it grows, and you can move mountains with it if you have that. It's so important that, you know what, for your peers, you know, they have an enormous power to create real positive change for their lives, and to teach all of us something. And a lot of times, and I always think it's unfortunate that the conversation is stifled, or it's censored, or it's, you know, it doesn't flow freely out of all sorts of other, you know, nonsense, such as, you know, shame, or you know, being humiliated or being bullied. And to the degree that your peers tolerate it, that's what happens. To the degree that your peers decide we are going to have that intelligent conversation, you can have it.
Right. Anyhow, I don't want to get in trouble, so you.
All right.
So I'll be the one that I'll be the one that hears about it.
Well, I apologize. I could go on for hours with these two. You know.
I know, yeah.
But,
And
you know,
we could always have them on again.
Yeah. Keep up.
But
up the
I'll
great
continue
work.
talking to them, yeah,
February
right.
8th, right?
Yeah.
And make sure you're all out. Everybody listening comes out and
February 8th,
gives
yeah.
us their support. And thanks for coming.
All right.
All right. See you later.
Thanks, Supervisor Grace. But I do want to continue talking to you. And in fact, on the interactive workshops for high school students, something that's interesting to me, for example, that I think would be of interest to anybody, especially adults and parents, is how things, you know, you could recognize something on the surface and not think much of it, but beneath the surface there's a lot going on. So, for example, the dating game, to me, is an example of that, because on the one hand, we could say, well, they're going out on a date. What, you know, it's a date. That's all it is. They're going to a movie or a dance or whatever it is. But I think as this particular presentation shows or will show, you know, things can happen in dating that could adversely affect somebody, maybe for the rest of their lives, right? I mean, you know, in a very bad way. And so I think you know, it's really good that there are going to be presentations like that that are part of Save a Life, and then going down the list under the same heading, house parties, which, you know, I think we're all aware there are house parties that go on that shouldn't go on, or things going on in them that shouldn't be going on. Not that you can't go to a party. And, you know, I think that's something every parent would be well served to attend. You know, I mean, whether or not you host parties, and
It's good
you
to
should,
be aware.
huh?
of the-
Be aware.
the laws.
And let's face it, you know, sometimes, as I don't think I have to tell you, parents may think the child is one place and the child is someplace else. You know, things like that go on all the time, too. And then there's another panel here on youth mental health, as the supervisor was talking about, the issues with mental health. Okay, Trissy, you're going to be the interim supervisor? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Who needs an election, by the way?
You know, I just had something so important. I wanted to make sure that the community understands that this Save a Life event that's offered to 200 high school students and 100 adults that work with youth, meaning any adult that if you're a parent, you're an adult that works with youth.
Sure.
But the 200 students come equally from Lakeland High School, Yorktown High School, and
Okay,
Walter
that's a good
Panis.
point. Yes,
So it's
right.
so nice. We go into all 3 schools,
Right.
and we register between 60 and 75 students at each high school.
school, right.
So it's wonderful. They get to meet a lot. Sometimes they don't know each other. That's part of the community event, is that this is,
Right.
we partner with the schools, but this is not one single school. It's so nice for the community to meet
Yes.
each other and to realize that the world is bigger than their school, and it's bigger, and that their community is large. And then when they go to college, they realize that it gets bigger and bigger,
Right.
and you become very comfortable learning how to look out for each other and learning how to talk about situations with people you don't know.
Right.
Just as you may go with friends, but you end up in workshops with peers that you don't know. So that's kind
Right.
of a neat purpose. And I know you'd be very excited when we were talking about the dating game.
Yeah.
They actually, Hope's Door comes in and presents that workshop, and they set it up like the dating game.
Like the actual TV
you have
show, right?
bachelorette, and you have a bachelor number 1, bachelor number 2, bachelor number
Yeah.
3, and they represent a healthy dating relationship, an unhealthy dating relationship, and bachelor number 3 is an abusive dating relationship. And it's very interesting because
Yeah.
the workshop, the students tend to lean towards some of they like the comments, they connect more to some of the comments from the unhealthy dating relationship until it's explained why maybe you really don't want your significant other checking your text messages, telling you how to dress, telling you that you shouldn't